Hello, welcome everyone. I am excited to be here. I hope you are. So whether you are watching to this live or you are watching after now, I really believe that this particular session is going to be one that you would enjoy. And today we have another guest amidst us. Our guest is going to be taking us deeper into the concept of personal leadership, the ideology of you leading yourself. You know, in the last edition, the speaker said that you don't necessarily need a follower to become a leader. The first person you should lead is yourself. You should lead your talents, you should lead your vision. And I think this is something that we are learning from these podcasts and from so many of our presentations. You've been learning about personal leadership and how to develop yourself the more. Let's have it.
Meet our guest. Olatunjoye Ige BA at English Language Oawata Chapter, Ondo State. He has been teaching for the past 10 years, which span through both public and mostly private schools within and outside Ondo State. He presently works at the Mabest Academy, Akure, at an international school with both Nigerian and British curricula as the head of schools. He teaches both English language and English literature in the two curricula. He is also the Global Youth President of the Reconciliation and Liberty Bible Church Ministry. He is a true disciple of Christ, a teacher of the Word who loves God and loves his work. He is married with 2 wonderful children.
Mr. Olatunjoye Ige, thank you so much for joining us today. So you're welcome to Life Clinic Podcast. Thank you so much. And I really want to appreciate you. Thank you for honoring our invitation. It's a wonderful thing to really have you here. And just for my presentation, you will discover that Mr. Olatunjoye is a teacher. And I need to be careful with my pronunciation today. All right. I must make sure that I'm speaking Queen's English. Right? Because so that the teacher will not say, no. I think every language, every English speaking that has accent. You know, sometimes when you have a British audience, okay, let me use this for example. I was speaking to a client one time about a month ago, and this person is an American. So by the time I was trying to tell her that, okay, this is what I do, trying to, pitch my idea to her. So by the time I was done with my presentation and everything, she just said, "Oh, John, I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said at all." I was sweating profusely, and I was trying to manage my intonation to really explain this thing to her. And she said, so I really want to talk about English accent before we start our discussion for today.
Well, the little I can say on that is that, well, of course, different language with their different accents. As a matter of fact, those people that speak English, even in England, we have different accents also. But I think the most important is the pronunciation. There might be influences because of our mother tongue, but the pronunciation matters. For that client of yours, might not necessarily be your accent, might be your pronunciation. So if a word is not properly pronounced, it could mean another thing to the native speaker. And that is why we have to learn how to produce those keywords in our sentences. Because regardless of whatever the case might be, if your listener or the person you are speaking to cannot understand you, then you have not communicated. So production is key when it comes to language. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Today. Thank you so much for that. Now, let's go to the matter of today. We have been looking at personal leadership for some time now. I personally, on my podcast on Spotify, I've been talking extensively on personal leadership. Some people, of which I am among, of today, I discovered that many a times we have issues with leadership. We have leadership issues. And we are so quick, and especially in my part of the world, in Nigeria, we are so quick to blame our leaders. All right. So I was saying that I discovered that the issue we have today is an issue of leadership. And especially for some that we call our leaders, have not really properly learned how to lead themselves. So if one has not learned how to lead himself, how will that person lead a nation? And in the last discussion, I extended this conversation to the secondary schools. Thank God you are the head of school at Mabest Academy. I said in secondary school, when you see the senior prefects, or let me say the people in SS3 generally, you discover that the kind of leadership pattern they exude is questionable. You know, it's easy to blame the governor, it's easy to blame the president. But when you look at the senior prefects, right, from every level, you discover that leadership is really a big thing. So I really want to talk about leadership, Mr. Olatunjoye. What is leadership? Maybe you could take sample from the leadership in the school system or the leadership that is being taught in the school. Over to you, Mr. Today.
Thank you very much. Your observation is correct, and the challenge we have in our country today is more or less like the challenge of leadership. And sincerely speaking, I must tell you that the schools are trying, are doing their best, but the problem is from homes. Most parents had failed to actually instill in their children those qualities of a leader. And if this has been done by parents, the school system just need to add to what has been. But unfortunately, when these children come to school, we end up finding out that there is nothing there. We had to now start the work of the parent. So that is why you see them the way they are behaving, misbehaving. They cannot even take care of themselves. They are not having any self-esteem. They don't show any responsibility. Parents that at a very tender age, they've already opened an account for the boy or girl, and they've already deposited a huge sum of money, which is not bad. But when you let the child knows about that, the way he sees life will be different. He doesn't see the need to be responsible. You know, like what we are talking about today, personal leadership is very, very important. You fail in that, you fail in all. Because it's not far away from personal discipline. So if you say personal leadership, it's more or less what we are talking about personal discipline. So without this, no society, because it's a coming together of different family members that forms a society. And when that has not been tackled or dealt with, it will be very difficult for us to have a strong or living or active or progressive society. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that understanding on leadership. Specifically today, Mr. Olatunjoye, we want to focus on decision making because we, in different or at different stages in life, we are expected to make decisions.
I want you to really talk about decision making, and I really want you to really go practical. Maybe to a time you had to make decisions, or basically, what are the ingredients that helps one to make a solid and very good decision? Over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. John. I would like to say at this juncture that making decision is not enough, but rather an effective one. And when we are talking about effective decision, we are talking about uh, making an informed choices, making an informed choices. And these choices are based on your personal values and goals. And that is why this decision making, effective decision making, cannot be separated from personal leadership. Because you must have grown yourself, you must have, trained yourself to become a good leader, or you have, developed your personal leadership skill to have an effective decision making. And if I may talk about effective decision making, it is not far-fetched from problem solving also. So what are those things that as individual, or let me say, as an educator, what are those key elements that is needed as an educator to make an effective decision? The first thing is information. You must be informed, or information gathering. You tend to make errors when you jump into conclusion or you jump into decision without having the robust information needed. It happens a lot with teachers. Because of your emotion, most people, they allow their emotions to guide their decision faculty, which is supposed not to be. So one of the key elements that you need for effective decision making is information gathering. And the second one is analysis. When you have an information, when you have gathered information, you need to evaluate. You need to look at the pros and the cons of the options that are tabled before you, of the facts and the truth you are open to. I know some people might think it takes, that's why a decision taken in a hurry can cost someone's life, can lead to an error that could be everlasting and can be damaging, that cannot be repaired. And that is why you have to consider this key element. And you need to consider alternatives before you finally, you have to weigh before you delve into that decision making. And before you finally even say that this is your decision, you have to involve in critical thinking. You have to involve in what? In critical thinking, applying the logical reasoning on whatever you want to do before you can say that, okay, this is your decision. And time is also very important in decision making. You know, there are some decisions that need to be taken immediately, and there are some that you need to give time. You need to allow it to for a reasonable, time. You have to take your time before you do it. Most times, decisions that will take one farther in the future, or that will affect, or that will help one in the future, are decisions you have to take your time to take. You take it in a hurry, you ended up in a mess. Take, for example, career choice. Some of these children do not know what they want. And some of them, like what we experience in most schools, especially in ours, they run into science class because their friends are going to science class. It is when they now get to science class and they begin to struggle, they now realize that this is not the place for them. I could remember a place that I taught before. The boy was in science class and was struggling, having C, D. You can't excel with that kind of grade. If your internal exam, you're having that kind of a grade, what will you have when you get to external? Okay, the mother now made a decision. Please help me to take him back to art class. Second term. You cannot believe that he got to art class. Even those that he met in art class, he was able to brush them. He was leading the class. Even he got a time that the only question in the exam that this boy cannot answer was a question that has been taught first term. Meaning that had it been he was here first term, he would be able to do X. And today now he's studying an art course. But most parents, I want my child to be a doctor. I want my child to be a nurse. Do they have the capability? Instead of them to sit down, gather the information, analyze, consider their options, think about it, take their time. And the last one I want to mention is accountability. You must be able to take responsibility for your decision. So before you say, this is my decision, you need to ask yourself, if anything go the other way, are you ready to take responsibility? If you're not able to do that, then your decision will not be effective, and you wouldn't have, really exhibit that skill of decision making. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ige. Thank you so much. That is very resourceful. All right, you spoke about information, and you see the matter of decision making is very crucial to everyone. And a lot of people really make unreasonable decision, and because of these factors, decisions are missing. All right, the factor of information. A lot of people even get the information, but they refuse to analyze the information. A lot of people are not accountable with the information, so they are making the wrong decisions. And that's very, very true. But Mr. Ige, I want to ask, you see, how do you make right decision in times of uncertainties? You rightly said something which I personally encounter when I talk to some young people that about what they want to study. Because their friends are in the science class, they also will rush to the science class. Because their friends are in the art class, or in fact, these people decide to go to art class because some people have informed them about how difficult chemistry and physics is. So how do you make right decisions during uncertain times, or when you're certain about issues? Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Making an effective decision during uncertain time is very simple, but it's not a day work. This is what our parents and the school system needs to put into consideration when they are bringing these young ones up. It is not until when they get to the senior class or about to move to the senior class that they need to think about what they need to. Now, when you are not certain, what you need to do is to look inward. What are those things you are good at? What are those things that you love doing? What are those things you feel comfortable doing? What are those things that Or what is that particular thing that if you are woken up like this and you are asked, you will not think twice before you know what to do? That should be the guiding light into decision making. A student that is outspoken, a student that loves reading storybooks, a student that when it comes to debate is very effective, a student that loves, when it comes to drama, demonstrating, they are good with their body, demonstrating. You don't need any prophet to tell you that you should go to art class. You don't need any prophet to do that. Even when you are confused, most times the reason why we are confused is because we are opened or we are fed with wrong information. Or some other times, the reason why some are uncertain was as a result of pressure. And this is one of the things that we need to work on as parents and school. They shouldn't allow pressure to be to dictate. Because a parent, we said because I'm a doctor, this child must be a doctor. That's a pressure. That's a pressure from home. Now, he's a kind of person that cannot withstand blood. He's a kind of person that he keeps to himself. He doesn't relate. He doesn't know how to socialize. He's the kind of person that when it comes to calculation, is very, very poor. And you say he must be an engineer. He must be a doctor. Why can't we look at the areas where this boy, this girl, things that come so easy? That's what they do outside the country. They don't lord things, career over their children. When they see the area that they are good at, that is the area they will push them to, and they will excel. Excellence is not restricted in one corner of a career. There are a lot of doctors today that do not excel. And whereas there are a lot of farmers, those people that studied farming, agriculture, that they are wealthy. So when we let there be open ground, there shouldn't be a situation where you have to, re-engineer their mind that one arm is better than the other. No, there is no arm that is better off. Art class is not better than science. Science is not better than commercial. Commercial is not better. All of them are on the same playing ground. But the question should be, what do you like doing? Not even what you want to become. A student might want to become a doctor because maybe he saw that his father is very rich and he want to. But do you have capability for that? What do you like to do? So for decision making during uncertainty, the question of what do you like to do? Not what do you want to be? What do you like? Or what are you good at? That will help you at the time of uncertainty. Because what comes easy to you, you will perfectly excel in that. That is my own submission. Thank you.
So much, sir. All right, so thank you so much, sir. And I think that's very, very true and very, very correct. Mr. Olatunjoye, I want to ask a very critical question here. And the reason why I said critical is I counsel senators, and there are times that we get to complex issues like this one I want to mention. Now, I really want you to look at how can we solve problems within or with what you like and what you are capable to do. Is it in a scenario whereby a young man, a young girl likes something? And likes comes from different reasons. It could like it because his favorite star is doing something there, all right? Maybe somebody likes content creation, right? And it felt like, okay, the reason why he likes content creation is because of the person in that career path that he has seen. But how do we now solve this issue when this young person is not capable of that? That is number one. Number two is, how do people solve problems? Yeah, that's it. Are there processes? Are there patterns? Because really we are faced at different stages in life. We are faced with challenges. Yes, you've helped us to understand how we can make effective decisions. But now this is a very vital problem. You are surrounded with different options, whether to do this, and it's becoming challenging to you. How really do you solve? How do you really do you navigate yourself through these experiences? Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Let's start with that like versus capable. Well, it is not enough to like. It is not enough to have passion for something if you are not capable. Capable is relative to me. Before you can say somebody is not capable, he or she must have tried it over time and he didn't get it. Now, I believe that if you have passion for something, you can learn that thing. You can learn it. There's nothing you cannot learn to do. So the issue of whether you are capable or not capable will not really play well here. If you really, the only way you can show me that you like dancing is if you start learning, then you know how to do it. Because when you see the art, once your art is open, it's like learning. Some people, if you don't like learning or the methodology a teacher is using to teach, there's no way the student will get it. And that's why the system they use in the elementary is different from what they use in a senior secondary school. So when you say somebody is not capable, is the person handicapped or is reading and is not getting it? I have an example of a student here. He's in science class. Over the years since his SS1, he has been having issues. And the people encouraged him to move to art class and other, but he said no. The mother said no. He got to a time, the mother came, she was heartbroken with the result, and she cried. And when the boy saw how the mother broke down, he decided that he is going to turn the whole situation around. Now, turning the whole situation around does not mean that from G now she moves straight or he moves straight to A. No, but there was a significant difference between his previous performance and his present performance because of one thing. He saw the mother. Whatever the thing that is prompting you to say, I like this, should also make you to scale every hurdles or to jump the tallest fence or mountain to make sure that you're able to achieve it. If your passion for anything is not great enough to make you to accomplish it, then it's not a passion at all. It's not what having passion for. Anything you like, you love. If you learn it, you will get it. You have the capability. So I don't believe that anybody does not have the capability. Even the issue of science and what have you, it is the orientation that it is hard. Some people still believe that mathematics is harder than English. But I used to tell people, no, mathematics is far, far easier. Even as a language teacher. In my secondary school, I had distinction. In my work, I had B in mathematics. I had C in English language. Mathematics is far, far easier. But this orientation, especially most mathematics teachers, even the mathematics teachers that I had, they are so wicked, abusive. Yes, wicked and abusive. And that is the orientation. So when they see maths, they just lock up their brain. They lock up their mind. But when they see an interesting math teacher, their love will be ignited. And what seems so difficult will become easier. Like I used to tell my students, it is what you don't know that is hard. And the difference between what you know and what you don't know and what you know is just a thin line. It's a matter of information, matter of how it is being passed across, the matter of who is passing it across. When those three is being overcome, you will get it. The person that is passing it, the way it is being passed, and the right information. So when you like and you are not capable, you don't like to that extent. Unless that's my information about it. If you really like it, come on, do it. You will fail. Do it again. Your passion or your life for something will not make you to stop because you failed 1,000 times. There are a lot of scientists today that what brought their name outside was as a result of, if you listen to the many errors they made, mistakes, but they know the passion they have for it do not make them to stop. And today we are reading about them. Sure. It is not how far, it is how well. Now, talking about solving a problem. A good problem solver must be an effective decision maker. A good problem solver must be an effective decision maker. There is no way you can solve a problem without following the element we mentioned in decision making. If the information you have about a particular problem is limited, there is no way you can solve it. is an extension of decision making. Take, for example, the issue of Solomon in the Bible. The issue of the two women. This one talked about, the baby is mine. Okay, say your story. He did. The other one say his story. He did. He was able to look at the two and make a decision. And the decision he made was an effective one because he was open to lot of, enough information. And there is no way we can also put aside the place of experience and having a mentor or being knowledgeable. It's still talking about information. A person that is not well read, that is not exposed as a result of reading books or listening to people talk, having enough in his quiver cannot be a problem solver. You cannot be a problem solver. If you are the type that you don't give yourself to reading, you don't relate to people, you don't know how temperament works, you don't even know about issues of life, you have not read about it, you can't be a problem solver. And that's why you see some people cannot solve their own problem because they are limited. The resources is limited, and they have to look for somebody that has enough resources to do that. And the difference between you and that person is what that person has in his quiver, what the experience, the knowledge that the person has. You might even have all the information, but how to place them, how to puzzle or unravel the puzzle. If you don't have it, you can't be. And it talks about decision making. Decision making is a big man or a strong man skill, which can be acquired by anybody as a matter of fact. But even when it seems that it's not going to work, but looking at the future, projecting, you'll be able to know that at the long run, this is going to work. And even when everybody is standing against you, you will still say that this is. So you must be an ardent decision maker, an effective decision maker to be a problem solver. That is my summation. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much. I'm just really, really excited, and I'm excited for our audiences that will be watching this afternoon. I'm really, really excited for them, and especially for what you said about that there is no way you can be a true decision maker. There's no way you can be a true problem solver if you are not a correct or affirmed decision maker. So I want to really ask, Mr. Tunjoye, you are an English expert, and that would in turn, especially in a part of the world that we communicate well, or we're expected to communicate with English. I want you to really talk to us about the power of communication in personal leadership. What is the relationship between communication, every forms of communication, and you leading yourself appropriately? Over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. The way I started with decision making is how I also start with communication. Communication is not communication if it is not effective. So rather than saying communication, I would say effective communication. So our communication can only take place if there is a feedback. If there is no feedback from the receiver of the communication, then the communication is not an effective one. And there is no good that a communication that is not effective, there is no good it's going to do to anybody, both the communicator and the receiver. So one of the things you need to work on as far as personal leadership is effective communication. And I must say at this point that there is power in effective communication. Because what we are seeing today that seems or looks like a problem or issue, whether it is religious, whether it is tribal, is as a result of communication. So it might be evil, but it's an effective one. So as a person that is working on his personal leadership, you have to involve, you have to convey your idea with or ideas convincingly through an effective communication. Your communication must be inspiring. It must be believable. It must, it must encourage effective action. Someone that is claiming to improve his personal leadership, that is not also working on his communication, cannot go anywhere. Like I said earlier, there is power in effective leadership. So when you don't communicate effectively, when you do not articulate your ideas, visions, values, expectations clearly, the effectiveness in communication means that that communication is clear. And there is only one way to know whether your communication is effective or is clear. And that way is by having the expected feedback. Expected feedback. So one of the good qualities of personal leadership is a clear communication, which will enhance your leadership ability, or which enhance a leader's ability to guide and motivate others. There is no way you can, carry people along if you are not a good communicator. And may I chip in this? A good communicator is also a good listener. If you are not a good listener, you cannot be a good communicator. Communication is not when you are outspoken. Effective communication is not, though it's part of it, but that is not it. Because if you are not listening to both what has been said verbally and non-verbally, you will not be able to communicate, or you will not be able to effect change. Because the essence of effective communication is to effect change. Whether they should agree with you or not to agree with that person. So for your communication, to be a good leader, you must be an effective communicator. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I mean, one thing about communication, and you mentioned it, is communication should be clear. And that's an issue a lot of people have while communicating. People are quick to assume for the other that this person should understand what I'm saying now. And that state of assumption makes the transmitter not to be clear with whatever he or she is saying. So that's why one needs to be very clear, concise, specific about what you are trying to say. Communication should not be effective communication, just like you have addressed it, should not be vague. All right, should be very, very clear. I want you now to talk about how to cultivate open and inclusive communication, whether in the workplace or in a team. Let's make use of a team, or even to yourself, because many times even some people are really not communicating effectively to themselves, not talking effectively to themselves. So how do we cultivate open and inclusive communication to oneself and especially to a team? Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. John. Well, personally, communication to yourself, you need, everything, like I used to say. I wouldn't know, maybe it's right for me to say it here, that Christianity is a kingdom of knowledge.
Sure.
If you are not knowledgeable, there's nothing you want to communicate. So on the personal level, you have to be knowledgeable. You have to be a well-read someone. You have to be open to resources. You have to read. It has to do with leadership. And there's this slogan that leaders are leaders. Sir, you must be a reader. Because like the normal saying, it is what a bird eats that it will fly with. If you are empty, you will communicate emptiness. So before you can come outside there, you must be sure that you are loaded. And when I say loaded, not loaded with crumbs or wrong information. Because whatever you are going to bring out or say, there are resources that people can easily go to immediately and confirm. And once you fail in a time to give a true, to pass across truth or the true communication, when subsequent one will not have any effect. So you must make sure that anything, like on social media, somebody will post something on the WhatsApp group, you will not even read. You will not assimilate or confirm. You post it again. Anytime you do that and they confirm that it's not correct, even the day you pass across the right information, people will not take you seriously. So on a personal ground, you must be sure that you have the right information. Now, when it comes to team, you cannot communicate effectively without relationship. The first thing that allows your information or whatever you want to say to any group of people is how you have related with them, your relationship with them. Even for the person you are meeting for the first time, you must be able to establish that the person can trust you. You must be able to show to the person that you are not dangerous, that you are not here to castigate, to pull the person down, or to act rightly without even considering the emotion of that person, that what that thing you know, if they are junks, you need to treat them. No, you must establish or build trust. Without trust, there's nothing you can say. Even if you are saying the right thing, the person will not accept it. So I want, for one, believe that the first thing you need to establish is a good relationship. Facial relationship, a friendly atmosphere that will make the person feel at home, especially in a group. Don't let them see you as the dictionary, the all in all. Once you begin to put that to the fore, and they begin to see you that it's as if you want to be the knowledge of all, the person that knows all. Then, even when you are saying the truth, the ego will not allow them. So you need to establish a mutual relationship. So when that is established, you will be able to pass across whatever, especially in a group. You will be able to pass across whatever you have to pass across. So I will say that everything boils down or is on that a mutual relationship that you need to establish. No matter whatever you want to. Today, people are deceived because of the level of relationship or respect they have for that person. Papa says, it's the level of relationship. Even when Papa will say the wrong thing, they will accept it. It's the level of relationship. So if you two want to re-engineer, that's why it's very hard for you to correct whatever the elementary teacher of your child, the teacher. If the teacher says, because he plays with them, he plays whatever he tells them during that time. If you come home and say the other thing, we tell you, no, my auntie says, if you want to change that, Esther, you must go by the way it was introduced to them, which is the playway method. You too, you must play, dance, and let them see the same format, the same way, and tell them that this is the right thing. If you do not do that, it won't work. If you want to say, I'm your daddy now, I'm your mommy now, it won't work. Because the way it was passed to them, it was based on a closer relationship. So if you are going to upturn it, you have to establish a greater relationship than what has been, than what puts that in there to change that information. So having the correct information, being an effective communicator is not enough if you cannot establish a mutual or a good relationship. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. I am really excited we're having this conversation. And most especially what you said, lastly, establishing mutual relationship. I used to tell my audience that in communication, there are three ingredients that should be in your communication. Number one, your communication should inspire people, should tell people to be able to do something. Number two, your communication should educate people. All right, should educate people. And number three, your communication should entertain. A lot of people learn through entertainment, just like you've established that it's important for open for open communication, we must entertain mutual relationship. Now, Mr. Olatunjoye, to end this conversation, how do you get updated? How do you stay updated to information, whether in your field or whether as a leader? How do you stay on trend to best practices in whatever you are doing?
Thank you very much. The reason why I said are also very particular about information is that the way God created man, it is not only food that we eat. Man do not eat only food. According to the Bible, but Jesus, he said, man shall not be by bread alone, but by the word by the word of God, or the word that comes from God. That is to tell you that there are other things man eats, and that is the word. The word in the sense in the scripture, or the word of man. The mind that we carry as human is a mind that eats. And the truth of the matter is that if you are not deliberate in feeding your mind, the mind will still eat. But what it will eat is something that will make the mind to be malnutrited. You cannot stand without eating. Whether you like it or not, even when you sleep, you will dream. You will get information. See that you are chasing somebody or somebody is chasing you. If you are going on the street, you will hear some music. You will hear people's discussion. Whether you like it or not, something must enter. The only person that will not eat anything apart from food is somebody that is dead. We can say it's also a mind fueling, and that's why we refer to it as a lifelong learning. It's not, you can't retire from it. You got to make sure that your mind is fueled. Some people today, when they have problems, the first thing that comes to their mind is to commit suicide. Why? The level of what their mind is fed with. I don't know what could happen to me. I don't know. That the next thing that will happen is that it will not even cross my mind. I'm too knowledgeable to consider suicide. Is the value of what you are exposed to. Some people are exposed to dangerous things. And that is why you need to get the right. How do you get the right information? The only way to get the right information is deliberacy. You must be deliberate. Anything you get indeliberately cannot help you. When you hear it indeliberately, you need to deliberately go and search more about it before it can stay with you, before you can make use of it. Nobody is successful in life today without being deliberate about it. So if you want, you will see a lot on the internet, but when you are deliberate and you know what you are looking for, you will be able to pick the right one from the wrong ones. Because there is power in learning. There is power in studying. There is power in reading. If you are the type that you can make audio books and see, when you listen and listen and listen, there is word is a spirit. Even word of man, word of God, they are spirits. They are spirits. God bless America, we hear today, is what is working for them. Other things might work. But what do we do to our country? And it's the level of mindset. It is what we are exposed to. But when you permeate your mind, when you occupy your mind with living words that are productive, if you read books that tells you that there is hope, show you the life history of people that were once in this situation and they are better off because of having determination and they have hope and they are working even after many failures, they kept at it. Your life, the way you see life will be different. A man that raises his hands up to beat his wife is at a level of the information. If you are well read, you will not. It's not a matter of being a doctor or a professor. That's not what I mean by being well read. What I mean by when you say you are being well read is when you read and we can see it in your life and your character. That is what it means to be. That is what education is all about, not what we have today. Education is a change of character. If after going to school for 4 years and you still come back with the way you left, you still shout, you still abuse, and even after 4 years, you must have learned something. Something must have dropped. Something must have been picked up. Something must have changed. There must be a change in character. Like we all know, one thing that is constant is change. And what causes change is the amount of information, right information that you are exposed to. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Mr. Olatunjoye Ige. Thank you so much for this wonderful, productive words that you've shared for over an hour now. Thank you so much. I really believe that this word is really going to help us thrive in our journey to personal leadership, or in our journey in personal leadership. We are all growing from one level to another. We are all improving from one stage to another. And once again, I want to really thank you for honoring our request. Thank you for joining us. I really hope that next year we will definitely invite you again, and you will take us maybe into leadership or into education or even into spirituality. All right. And I really enjoyed this session personally, and I really believe that many of our audience are also having has also learned one or two things. But before you leave, Mr. Olatunjoye, all of my guests, I asked them 3 questions. The first question is, what piece of advice would you give to your younger self?
Oh, thank you. There are a lot that I would like to say, but let me say this. I will tell him, or I will tell myself that he should embrace uncertainty and change as opportunities for growth in life. I will also tell him that life is a dynamic journey, and the unexpected twists and turns shape our character. So instead of fearing the unknown, see it as a canvas waiting for your unique brush strokes. The challenges you face will be what will sculpt your resilience, and the uncertainty will become the seed to your most profound discoveries.
That's very deep. Embrace uncertainties, seeing change as an opportunity for growth. That's very, very prolific. All right. So the next question is, what book, film, or podcast would you recommend to people that could be a source of inspiration or guidance?
Okay. I have this book with me. I wrote it down here. Man's Search for Meaning. Man's Search for Meaning by Victor E. Franklin. Victor, Viktor. Franklin, Frankl. Is it dealt, it made us to understand the insight, gave us insight into finding meaning in the face of adversity. You know why I picked this is because, sir, there are a lot of things going on. A lot of people are going through a lot. And that's why sometimes when my teacher comes late, I will just keep calm, because if they open up, but there are books that can help, even in this phase of different phases of adversity. So Man's Search for Meaning will go a long way. Thank you.
So my last question for you before we call it a day, sir, is if you had the opportunity to speak to anyone, whether dead or alive, who will that person be, and what will be your question, or what will you say to that person?
Well, I was contemplating on saying Jesus, but I don't want to sound too spiritual. So I would rather pick a human. I wouldn't know, maybe she will make heaven. The name of the person is Maria Montessori. Is an Italian physician and educator known for innovative educational philosophy. And my question will be simple. So what I will ask her is, I will ask her about the evolution of our groundbreaking approach to education, the insights she gained from working with children, and how she envisioned the long-term impact on our methods on shaping the future of learning. Because the way we handle, because the challenge I see out with my teacher today is that they want to handle the present day children the way they were handled when eyes were still on our knees. The way our teachers then handle us, they want to handle the children nowadays like that. Oh no, it won't work. So that we that are here can also leave something that can be called legacy, especially for the upcoming, on how to handle children or students or pupils in our school system. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Olatunjoye Ige Emmanuel. Thank you so much for joining us on Life Training Podcast. I personally have been blessed. I've learned so much from your conversation, from our conversation, from this time we started. Thank you so much for this insights. Thank you for insights on decision making and problem solving. Thank you for insights on the power of communication. And thank you for the insight you shared on lifelong learning. And thank you for this insight you've also shared on the 3 questions I asked all my guests. Thank you so much. I'm really excited to have you here. And just to wrap up this, I would want to take your last comment on personal leadership to our audience that are watching, or maybe someone is just watching, scrolling in. What would be your last comments on personal leadership, on decision making, and everything we've talked about today? Over to you, sir.
Thank you, sir. I would like to say that personal leadership is the key. We had a meeting today in my school, and the teachers were complaining that the school has given the students too much power. How can a student be talking rudely to a teacher? And I told them, there's no student that will not want to misbehave. But the difference is that they cannot do it to everybody. And what makes the difference between the teacher that a student can just talk down on and a teacher the student cannot talk down on is the personal leadership, personal discipline. There is a way you carry yourself. You can't be friendly. I am friendly, even more than any of the teachers that are in this school. But I am also a disciplined person. And that is an offshoot of how I have trained myself. You cannot be a good problem solver if you have not worked on your personal leadership. You that cannot solve your own personal problem, how do you want to solve people's problems? You cannot be a good decision maker if you cannot even make a personal decision to be self-disciplined. You cannot be, a symbol or an epitome of lifelong learning that people can be learning about what you have done if you have not worked on yourself. There is nothing you can do. You cannot stay in your husband's house. You cannot stay in a man's house, in a woman's house. You cannot withstand somebody's mistake, error, if you have not worked on your personal leadership. There are a lot of things that are in personal leadership and personal growth or personal discipline. Because there's a level you get to that even when somebody makes a mistake, there's a way you handle it because you know that you yourself can make the same mistake. But some people, the way they react is as if they are angels. And they are the kind of people that even make the worst errors. So personal leadership is something that you cannot, it's not an alternative for God, for something else. You cannot excel. Go and read the life of those people that have excelled, that we are reading about today. They have strong personal discipline. And that is the way to go. You cannot even be a good Christian without a personal discipline. You cannot be a good human being. Those people that are doing those Boko Haram, they have personal discipline. That is why they can be focused. You can't be focused without a personal discipline. Of course, personal discipline can be negative and positive, but the fact remains that you cannot overcome situations around you. You cannot overcome people around you if you have not overcome yourself. The best success or victory is self-victory. If you have not done that, you are going nowhere. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Olatunjoye Ige. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for this wonderful session. And I really trust that every of our listeners has enjoyed this session. All right, everyone, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you. I really hope that you enjoyed this session. I really hope that you are inspired. I really hope that you've learned one or two things. And I really hope that you had fun, right? And I really trust that henceforth, you would learn how to make decisions. You will learn how to communicate. And you would also know that it is important that you keep learning. You keep learning. There's an axiom that says the day you stop learning is the day you start dying. The day you stop learning is the day you start dying. So you don't want to die now. You don't want to die while you are still alive. So keep learning. So keep improving yourself. And when you do these things, you're on your path to personal leadership. All right. Once again, if you have been listening, drop a comment. Make sure you like, drop a comment, say something. Share what's your thoughts about making decisions. What are your thoughts about problem solving? What are your thoughts about lifelong learning? And I really hope that next time I'm going to see you again on life learning. Thank you and God bless you.